The world loves simple labels, strong or smart, thinker or fighter, calm or dangerous. From the moment you were young, you were taught, quietly, relentlessly, that you must choose. If you used your mind, your body would fade. If you built your body, your thinking would dull. Society framed it as balance, but it was never balance. It was division, a clean cut straight through your potential. Because the last thing any system wants is a human being who can think clearly and act decisively. Someone who cannot be boxed, softened, or stalled. Someone complete. History never agreed with this lie. The men who shaped the world were never half-formed. They were not specialists trapped in one lane. They were unified forces. Warriors who understood beauty, thinkers who could endure pain. Leaders whose presence alone could shift a room before a word was spoken. This truth wasn't philosophy to them, it was survival. And when that truth disappeared, weakness became normal. In modern life, the prison is comfortable, air-conditioned, digitized, quiet. You can live decades inside it without realizing the bars are there. You wake up tired though you slept. Your mind races but produces nothing. You consume information endlessly yet hesitate when action is required. You feel capable but never fully powerful. Not broken enough to rebel. Not strong enough to dominate. Just functional enough to keep going. There was a man living exactly like this. He was respected, intelligent, successful by modern standards. His mind was sharp, analytical, praised by everyone around him. He solved problems others avoided, built strategies others admired. On the surface, he had won, but beneath that surface was a constant tension he couldn't name, a subtle weakness that followed him everywhere. Meetings drained him, pressure rattled him, decisions lingered longer than they should have. His thoughts were brilliant, but when the moment demanded presence, his body betrayed him. He believed the story he'd been told. That strength was optional, that physical training was shallow, that discipline of the body was inferior to discipline of thought. He laughed at those who lifted, trained, suffered voluntarily. I don't need that, he told himself. My mind is enough. But his mind knew better. When stress arrived, his heart raced. When conflict surfaced, his voice tightened. When leadership was required, something invisible pulled him back. He thought it was fear, or anxiety, or personality. It wasn't. It was biology. His body was untrained and his nervous system knew it. Every bold thought triggered a quiet warning. You are not built to handle the consequences. So his mind compensated. It overthought. It delayed. It analyzed endlessly. Not because he lacked courage, but because his body couldn't support courage. Weakness doesn't announce itself loudly. It whispers. It disguises itself as intelligence, caution, sophistication. It convinces you that waiting is wisdom. One night, unable to sleep, he stumbled across an old idea buried beneath centuries of dust. Not a quote, not a motivation clip, a way of living that felt alien and strangely familiar at the same time. It spoke of training not as fitness, but as alignment, not as appearance, but as readiness, not to impress, but to survive. The idea was simple and terrifying. The body and the mind are not separate. They are one system, and the system is only as strong as its weakest part. He began to see it everywhere once he noticed it. Leaders who commanded rooms without raising their voice. Men who remained calm under chaos. Thinkers whose ideas moved the world because their presence carried weight. None of them were fragile. None of them were soft. Their strength was quiet, but undeniable. The ancient world understood this instinctively. They never asked whether to train the body or the mind. That question itself would have sounded absurd. Training was training. Life demanded readiness. War demanded endurance. Leadership demanded composure under pressure. Philosophy without the body was fantasy. Strength without thought was waste. Somewhere along the way, comfort rewrote the rules. This man realized something uncomfortable. He had been living at partial capacity. Not because he lacked intelligence, but because his intelligence had no vehicle. His thoughts were fast, but they had no traction. His ideas were sharp, but they had no force behind them. He wasn't weak in the way movies portray weakness. He was weaker in a more dangerous way, capable but unreliable under pressure. The next morning he stepped into discomfort deliberately for the first time in years. Not heroically, not confidently, just honestly. His body resisted immediately, shaking, burning, exposed. His ego collapsed faster than his muscles. And yet, beneath the humiliation, something unexpected surfaced. Clarity. That night his thoughts slowed, not dulled, focused. The noise receded. For the first time in years, his mind rested inside his body instead of floating above it. He didn't feel energized. He felt grounded, anchored, present. That was the moment everything shifted. He understood that the gym was never about muscles. Pain was never the point. The point was pressure. Voluntary pressure. Stress chosen instead of avoided, because pressure reveals truth, and truth forges integration. Every repetition became a conversation between mind and body. Every breath under strain taught his nervous system something books never could. You are safe inside effort. You are capable under load. This wasn't self-improvement, it was self-recovery. As days passed, then weeks, the changes weren't dramatic, but they were undeniable. His posture changed, his voice steadied, his reactions slowed. Situations that once spiked anxiety now registered as information. The body had begun to support the mind instead of undermining it. He realized something ancient warriors had always known. When the body is weak, the mind becomes defensive. When the body is trained, the mind becomes strategic. This wasn't about becoming aggressive. Aggression is brittle. This was about becoming unshakable, calm with weight behind it, silence with consequences. He had crossed a line most people never cross, not into fitness, into integration, and once crossed, there was no going back. Because a man who reunites what the world divided doesn't just improve his life, he becomes dangerous to mediocrity itself. As the weeks turned into months, something deeper than strength began to form. The physical changes were obvious enough: firmer posture, steadier movement, a presence that no longer shrank under pressure. But those were only symptoms. The real transformation was internal. His mind no longer scattered when stress arrived. Instead of racing, it narrowed. Instead of panicking, it assessed. Pressure, once an enemy, had become a signal, a familiar terrain. His body had learned how to suffer without collapsing, and in doing so, it taught his mind how to stay calm when everything demanded reaction. He started noticing patterns he had never seen before. The people who dominated rooms weren't always the smartest, but they were always embodied. Their words landed because their nervous systems were trained. Their confidence wasn't arrogance, it was regulation. They could pause, they could wait, they could decide. Meanwhile, the most intelligent people he knew often dissolved under uncertainty, drowning in options, hiding behind complexity. It wasn't a failure of intellect, it was a failure of integration. History confirmed what his body was teaching him. Across civilizations, the most respected figures were never fragmented. Ancient warriors were expected to write, paint, and think. Philosophers were expected to endure hardship. Leaders were expected to fight beside their men. This wasn't romantic tradition, it was practical design. A person who could not regulate their body under stress could not be trusted with power. A person who could not think clearly under exhaustion was a liability. Somewhere in modern life, this standard collapsed. Comfort replaced training. Convenience replaced readiness. Knowledge replaced wisdom. And people began mistaking information for capability. But the body never forgot. It kept the score quietly. Anxiety, fatigue, indecision. These weren't psychological flaws. They were biological alarms, signals that the system was incomplete. As his training deepened, he stopped viewing effort as something to escape. He began to seek it intentionally. Early mornings, cold exposure, long sessions where quitting would have been easier than continuing. Not because suffering was virtuous, but because it was honest. When the body was pushed, the mind revealed itself. Excuses surfaced, fear spoke, resistance negotiated, and each time he stayed, something inside him hardened, not in cruelty, but in reliability. This was the difference between motivation and discipline. Motivation waited for feeling, discipline acted regardless of it, and discipline, he learned, was not mental, it was physical first. The body taught the mind how to obey. His work changed without him trying to change it. He no longer over-prepared. He no longer rehearsed conversations endlessly. When decisions appeared, he made them. When conflict arose, he didn't avoid it. He entered calmly. people noticed. Not because he announced his transformation, but because his presence carried weight. The same ideas he'd always had now landed differently, delivered by a body that could support them. This is what ancient warriors understood that modern men forget. Thought does not lead action. Capacity does. When your body knows it can endure stress, your mind stops inventing reasons to hesitate. Courage becomes natural. Focus sharpens. Fear loses its grip, not because it disappears, but because it is no longer in control. He studied deeper, not as an academic, but as a practitioner. The ancient texts spoke in metaphors, but the meaning was clear. Training was not about perfection. It was about readiness, to move without hesitation, to act without internal debate, to respond instead of react. One line returned to him again and again. The path is revealed through repetition, not repetition of ideas, but repetition of effort. Each day of training rewired him subtly. The nervous system adapted, the breath slowed under strain, the heart rate stabilized faster after stress. These weren't fitness metrics, they were leadership traits, emotional control, strategic calm, mental endurance. Modern science now confirmed what warriors had discovered centuries earlier. Controlled physical stress builds psychological resilience. It strengthens the brain's ability to govern impulse. It teaches patience at the cellular level. The lie he had lived under for so long became obvious now. Society hadn't divided mind and body by accident. A population that can think but cannot act is manageable. A population that can feel strong but cannot think is predictable. Integration creates autonomy, and autonomy is dangerous to systems that thrive on dependence. This wasn't conspiracy, it was pattern. When people are fragmented, they outsource strength. They rely on structures, institutions, authorities. When people are integrated, they become self-regulating, harder to manipulate, harder to scare, harder to control. He wasn't becoming aggressive, he was becoming independent. The more he trained, the quieter his mind became. Silence replaced noise. Stillness replaced tension. Not passive stillness, but coiled readiness. The kind that doesn't rush because it doesn't need to. He understood now why ancient warriors emphasized calm above all else. Panic wastes energy. Calm conserves it. Calm sees clearly. There was a moment, months into this path, when he realized something startling. He no longer needed constant validation. Approval had lost its grip. Fear of judgment dissolved, not because he had convinced himself he didn't care, but because his body had proven something his mind could finally trust. I can handle what comes. That trust changed everything. He stood differently, spoke slower, chose words carefully, listened without impatience. His presence alone began shaping outcomes before arguments were made. This was not dominance, it was gravity. He had become aligned. The ancient warriors had a word for this state. Not confidence, not strength, but unity. A condition where thought, breath, posture, and action pointed in the same direction. No internal friction, no wasted motion, no contradiction between intention and execution. Most people live divided lives. They want one thing, feel another, and do a third. Integration collapses that gap. It makes action inevitable. This is why the strongest men are often the calmest. They don't need to prove anything. Their body already knows the truth. And once a man experiences this state, he understands something irreversible. There is no going back to fragmentation, because living divided feels unnatural now. Like walking with a limp you didn't know you had. Once alignment is restored, anything less feels like betrayal. He realized the journey had only just begun. Strength was not the destination. Integration was, and integration demanded consistency, daily practice, daily confrontation with resistance, daily choice to train instead of retreat. This was not a phase, it was a way of living, a return to something ancient, a refusal to accept the lie, and with that refusal, a new question emerged, one that would test everything he had built. What happens when this integrated system is truly challenged, when the pressure isn't chosen but imposed? That answer would come soon, and it would change him forever. The real test never arrives when you expect it. It doesn't announce itself with drama or warning. It appears quietly, disguised as responsibility, risk, or consequence. For him, it came on an ordinary day that demanded an extraordinary response. The kind of moment that exposes whether transformation is real or just performance. The kind that reveals whether integration holds under pressure or fractures. The situation was serious, stakes were high, time was limited. Others around him reacted the way people always do when uncertainty strikes. Voices sharpened, energy scattered. Everyone reached for familiar habits, over-talking, over-planning, blaming, hesitating. The room filled with motion but no direction. He felt the pressure rise, not as panic, but as weight. Heavy, undeniable, present. And then something remarkable happened. His body stayed calm, not numb, not detached. Calm in the way a grounded structure remains calm during a storm. Breath steady, vision clear, thoughts ordered. His nervous system did not spike into defense, it moved into assessment. The training had worked, not because he was fearless, but because fear no longer controlled the sequence. This was the moment the ancient warriors trained for, not the fight itself, but the instant before action. The pause where clarity decides everything. While others spiraled, he spoke once, slowly, precisely. He didn't rush to dominate the room. He didn't force authority. He simply laid out a direction. Clear steps, clear risks, clear decisions. His words carried weight not because they were louder, but because they were anchored. The room shifted. People leaned in. Energy reorganized. Noise quieted. Leadership emerged not by title, but by presence. And in that moment, he understood something that no book could have taught him. Authority is not claimed, it is recognized. And recognition begins in the body. Afterward, when the crisis passed and outcomes settled in his favor, there was no rush of adrenaline, no celebration, just confirmation, calm confirmation. The system worked. Mind and body together had produced clarity under pressure. This wasn't luck. It wasn't personality, it was training. This was the difference between knowing what to do and being able to do it when it matters. Most people fail not because they lack intelligence, but because their systems collapse under stress. Their thoughts scatter, their breath shortens, their posture folds, their voice tightens. Biology overrides intention. The body takes control, and the body, untrained, chooses survival over excellence. Training reverses that hierarchy. Under stress, the trained body stabilizes the mind. Breath slows the heart. Posture communicates confidence before thought forms. Muscles absorb tension instead of feeding it back into the brain. Action becomes possible because the system is no longer fighting itself. This is why ancient training was brutal, not because brutality was admired, but because softness under pressure was fatal. Warriors trained exhaustion so that chaos would feel familiar. They trained discomfort so fear would lose its novelty. They trained daily not for appearance, but for inevitability. He now understood the deeper layer of the path. Integration is not balance. Balance implies trade-offs. Integration removes them. He didn't train his body instead of his mind. He trained his body so his mind could function fully. He didn't reduce thinking. He sharpened it by giving it a stable foundation. Thought no longer floated. It landed. And with that landing came responsibility. Because once you know this truth, you can't unknow it. You see division everywhere. You see brilliant people sabotaged by fragile bodies. You see strong bodies directed by shallow thinking. You see wasted potential moving through the world in fragments. And you realize how rare completeness has become. This is why integrated men stand out without trying. They don't chase attention, they attract it. They don't rush decisions, they command patience, they don't posture. They settle spaces simply by being present. This presence isn't mystical, it's physiological. A regulated nervous system communicates safety and authority simultaneously. Others feel it before they understand it. It's why animals follow certain leaders instinctively. It's why humans defer without explanation. The body speaks first. Words follow. As the months passed, this state became his default. Not constant intensity, but constant readiness. Calm became his baseline. Stress became information. Effort became routine. And with this came a quiet confidence that did not seek validation. He noticed something else change. He stopped craving distraction. Endless scrolling lost its grip. Noise became irritating. Empty stimulation felt hollow. His mind no longer needed constant input because his body was finally receiving enough output. Energy flowed instead of stagnating. The ancient balance restored itself naturally. He began mentoring others, not formally, but by example. People asked questions, not about workouts, but about composure, not about routines, but about clarity. They sensed the difference even if they couldn't name it. And when he explained, he never spoke about muscles. He spoke about training as preparation for life, about discomfort as education, about effort as honesty, about the cost of avoiding pressure, about the lie that told them they had to choose between thinking and acting. Some listened, some dismissed it. That didn't matter. The path doesn't need approval, it only needs commitment. He realized then that this path wasn't modern or ancient. It was timeless. It resurfaced whenever humans remembered what they were built for, and it vanished whenever comfort convinced them otherwise. The greatest danger wasn't weakness. It was forgetting that your body is not an accessory, forgetting that your mind is not a separate entity, forgetting that power comes from alignment, not excess, forgetting that ease is earned through effort, not avoidance. This forgetting had a cost. He'd lived it. Years of hesitation, years of fog, years of unused capacity. And now, standing on the other side, the contrast was painful and clarifying. He didn't feel superior to who he used to be, he felt responsible for who he had become. Because this state, this integration, was not for ego, it was for action, for leadership, for service, for moments that demand someone remain steady when others cannot, and life always demands those moments. The ancient warriors trained because they had to. Modern men must train because they choose to. The battlefield has changed, but the biology hasn't. Pressure still reveals truth. Stress still exposes preparation. The system still defaults to its weakest link. The only question is whether you will strengthen that link or continue pretending it doesn't matter. He knew the final test was not behind him. It was ahead, because integration is not a finish line. It is a discipline. And discipline, once chosen, must be renewed daily. The final understanding didn't arrive as a revelation. It arrived as a settling, a quiet certainty that this way of living was no longer something he practiced. It was who he had become. Training was no longer an event separated from life. It was life. Every challenge became another form of resistance, every responsibility another weight to carry with composure, every decision another repetition demanding clarity instead of impulse. He saw now that most people spend their lives preparing mentally for situations their bodies are not ready to face. They plan courage instead of building it. They visualize confidence instead of training it. They collect ideas the way others collect tools, never realizing that a tool in untrained hands is useless. Strength without direction is chaos. Direction without strength is fantasy. Integration turns both into force. This is what the ancient path was really about. Not dominance, not aesthetics, not control over others, control over self. The ability to remain present when discomfort appears, to act deliberately when pressure demands reaction, to move forward without internal argument. That is power. Quiet, rare, unmistakable. He understood why this path never became mainstream. It asks too much. It demands responsibility instead of excuses. Effort instead of entitlement. Discipline instead of identity. It doesn't flatter the ego, it dismantles it. And only after dismantling does it rebuild something real. Modern culture celebrates comfort as success, ease as progress, but ease without capacity creates fragility. The smallest stressor becomes overwhelming, the slightest resistance feels offensive. The nervous system, never trained, interprets challenge as threat, and so people retreat into distraction, into theory, into endless preparation that never becomes action. The integrated path does the opposite. It exposes you to stress in controlled doses until stress loses its authority. It teaches your body that discomfort is not danger. It teaches your mind that clarity exists on the other side of effort. Over time, fear stops shouting, hesitation stops negotiating. You act not because you're fearless, but because fear no longer decides. This is why the strongest presence in a room is often the quietest. The man who has nothing to prove moves differently. He listens fully. He speaks when necessary. He chooses deliberately. His confidence is not performative, it is structural, built into his posture, his breathing, his timing. You feel it before he says a word. That presence cannot be faked. It can only be trained. He began to understand that training the body is not about becoming intimidating, it is about becoming reliable. Reliable to yourself, reliable under pressure, reliable when things go wrong. The kind of reliability that others sense instinctively and trust without explanation. This reliability changes relationships. People stop testing you, stop pushing boundaries, stop projecting chaos. Not because you're aggressive, but because you are stable. Stability is rare, and rare things command respect without asking for it. He also understood something equally important. This path is not masculine bravado, it is human alignment. Women feel it, children sense it, teams rely on it, communities need it. In every era, during every crisis, the people others look to are not the loudest or smartest. They are the most regulated, the most grounded, the most complete. This is why the old traditions insisted on daily practice, not to chase improvement endlessly, but to prevent decay. Because without training, fragmentation returns quietly, comfort creeps back in, avoidance disguises itself as intelligence again, the body softens, the mind scatters, and the system weakens without announcement. Training is maintenance of clarity. It is how you remind the body what it is capable of, how you remind the mind that it is supported, how you keep the system honest. He no longer asked whether he felt like training. The question had become irrelevant. He trained because he valued alignment more than comfort, because he knew what happened when he stopped. He had lived that version of himself, and he refused to return. The ancient warriors spoke of the way, not as a destination, but as a direction, something you walk daily, something you embody through action, not a belief system, but a behavior system. You don't think your way into it, you move your way into it. And the reward is not praise, the reward is capacity, the ability to face life without shrinking, to make decisions without spiraling, to lead without posturing, to endure without resentment, to act without hesitation, to rest without guilt. This is what completeness feels like. Not constant intensity, not permanent struggle, but deep readiness. A calm confidence that whatever arrives, you will meet it with your whole self, not half. The world does not fear intelligence alone. It adapts to it. The world does not fear strength alone. It controls it. But when intelligence and strength unite in one person, the rules change. That person cannot be easily manipulated, cannot be easily intimidated, cannot be easily ignored. That is why the lie persists. Because divided people are predictable, complete people are not. The choice, in the end, is simple but not easy. You can continue refining one half of yourself while neglecting the other. You can remain impressive but ineffective, insightful but hesitant, capable but inconsistent. Or you can reclaim what was always meant to be unified. You don't need extreme routines, you don't need obsession, you need commitment to training as a way of life, to moving your body with purpose, to placing yourself under controlled stress, to choosing effort where you once chose avoidance. One rep at a time, one decision at a time, one day at a time. This is not about becoming someone else, it is about becoming whole. The ancient path never disappeared. It was simply forgotten. And every generation a few remember, they train, they integrate, they walk quietly against the current, and without trying they become pillars. Others lean on when things collapse. The way is open. Not tomorrow, not someday, now. Train your body so your mind can trust itself. Train your mind so your strength has direction. Refuse the false choice. Reject the division. Walk the path of integration. Because the world does not need more thinkers who hesitate or more bodies without depth. It needs complete men. And completeness is built, not believed. The way is in training.